spokesman. The announcement came more than a month after the Daesh chief died during a U.S. raid that saw commanders swoop in by helicopter to an area on northwest of Syria. Appeals judges at the United Nations-backed tribunal on Thursday overturned the acquittals of 2 members of Lebanon's Hezbollah group in the 2005 assassination of former Lebanese Prime Minister Rafiq al-Hariri. The 5-judge appeals panel at the Special Tribunal for Lebanon convicted Hassan Habib Mirhi and Hussein Hassan Onasi of 5 charges linked to the assassination, including conspiracy to commit a terrorist act and being accomplices to international homicide. The United Nations Security Council voted to impose an expanded arms embargo on Yemen's Houthi rebels, saying they have threatened the peace, security and stability of the war-torn country. Council members said that the rebels are responsible for attacking civilians, commercial shipping in the Red Sea, and Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates. The Security Council had already imposed an asset freeze, travel ban and arms embargo against Houthi leaders and top officials, but this resolution dramatically expands the arms embargo to include all Houthis.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and we're now delighted to be joined over the telephone by our guest, Dr. Hassan Wagie, Professor of Political Science from Al-Azhar University. Dr. Hassan, a very good afternoon to you, sir.
Good afternoon to you.
Thank you very much for joining us, Doctor. Now, we just recently saw President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi returning from an official visit to Saudi Arabia, where he met with the Saudi king as well as the Crown Prince, and many discussions ensued between the President and the leaders from Saudi Arabia, one of which, of course, was the situation in the Middle East and the region, common challenges facing the Arab nations in the region. How do you see the timing of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi's visit to Saudi Arabia?
Of course, the timing is having a very critical context where the Arab nation, all the Arab countries are facing impacts due to the Ukrainian-Russian international crisis.
Yes.
And it is very important to reorchestrate everything among all Arab countries. And when it comes to Saudi Arabia, we had a long history of strategic cooperation with Saudi Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. And the president's visit is extremely important and sensitive in this context.
Yes, indeed. Right. Dr. Hassan, could you tell us a bit about some of the main issues that were on the discussion agendas between the leaders? And they discussed several issues as well in the Arab region related to security challenges, whether in Libya, Yemen, Syria, lots of different, Arab crises in the region that are top priorities for both Egypt and Saudi Arabia.
Yes, the general communique that really came out after the visit shows all these axes. When it comes to, for instance, Libya, yes, there should be stability, elections, and all foreign militias should be out, and the Libyan territories are integrated, and Egypt and Saudi Arabia stands firm to confirm this stance. When it comes to the Renaissance Dam or the Ethiopian Dam,
yes,
the communique really addressed the importance of reaching a diplomatic solution to the problem and a binding legally agreement to organize the situation and to keep the flow of the water of the Nile according to the international law and according to international treaties.
Yes.
When it comes to Syria, when it comes to Iran, Yemen, yes, the two countries are having a strong stance for unity and for addressing any consequences or any developments, especially in this liquidity in the international system.
Yes, indeed. Doctor, we've seen President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi previously and on many occasions speaking about how the Arab nations' security and stability is of paramount importance and just part as well of the Egyptian security and stability. And the President paid specific attention to the stability and security as well of the Gulf area, a very important issue, really. How important is this and often we hear the President bringing it up in many of his meetings with different Arab leaders?
Actually, yeah, the president is very keen to get connected, well connected with all Arab leaders. Egypt's role is to cement Arab relations.
Yes.
Egypt's role is intended to keep the peace and security for all the Arab countries. When it comes to the Gulf countries, security, it is an integral part of the Egyptian national security. And what is witnessing to that is so many long history of cooperation,
yes,
economically and with military exercises with
yes,
all these countries. So the president did not only say, but he did act on that a long time ago.
Absolutely. Doctor, as you mentioned, a very great ties, historical relations between Egypt and Saudi Arabia. Could you tell us, brief us a bit more about, these relations between Egypt and Saudi Arabia and how, as you also mentioned, they extend to different facets. We're speaking about politically, economically, culturally, socially, religiously, lots of different, it's a multifaceted or multidimensional relation between the two countries.
Yeah, actually, when it comes to all these axes that you have already mentioned, I would like to say that it is very important to have to strengthen all these axes. But there was a long history behind what is happening now when it comes to cooperation. And when you are talking about each of these axes, when it comes to economic, yes, there is extensive economic interactions between the two states. Mutual investments are taking place. About 1,000 companies from Saudi Arabia is investing in Egypt. And many companies also investing in Saudi Arabia.
Yes.
And I think the economic situation has a lot of details to be addressed. But also when it comes to religious dimension, yes, this is the state where we have Saudi Arabia, where we have the two holy shrines, and Egyptians really care about having strong relationship religiously with Saudi Arabia. And also when it comes to religious discourse, both Egypt and Saudi Arabia wants stability. We don't want to get into this, what is being promoted outside our area with interventionists to have a war between Shiite and Sunni. Egypt and Saudi Arabia reject this idea,
yes,
and it doesn't want to be pushed into that trap. And this is very, very wise and very important for reservation in both countries.
yes.
When it comes to cultural domain, yes, we have a lot of strong cultural ties.
Yes.
Excuse me to say that personally, when I was in Saudi Arabia, I used to go to these places where I published books over there. Saudis are coming here to publish books and to exchange ideas. Intellectuals here and intellectuals there have strong ties, and this is a blessing from God.
Absolutely right. I'd like to thank you very, very much, Dr. Hassan Wagie, our guest and our political analyst for today's input in this edition of Arab Affairs. Thank you so much, Doctor, for your time and your insight. A short break and we bring you a report on Egyptian-Saudi relations, and we'll be back for more. Stay tuned.
President President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi paid an official visit to Saudi Arabia on Tuesday. During the visit, President el-Sisi held talks with Saudi King Salman bin Abdulaziz and Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman over bilateral relations as well as regional and international issues of mutual concern. The two sides held consultations over current crises, which require coordinated efforts with the aim of maintaining Arab national security. The Crown Prince was at the reception of President el-Sisi and his accompanying delegation, comprising Foreign Minister Sameh Shukri and General Intelligence Chief Abbas Kamel. Following the talks, Egypt and Saudi Arabia issued a joint statement emphasizing their shared stances on a number of regional issues. In a joint statement, the Saudi Arabia asserted its full support for Egyptian water security as part of Arab water security, while encouraging Ethiopia to abandon its unilateral policies in regard to the GERD problem. On the other hand, the two countries stated that they were committed to finding comprehensive political solution to the Yemeni crisis, as they condemned the attempts by Houthi militias to threaten the security and safety of maritime navigation in the Arabian Gulf. The joint statement also tackled the Middle East peace process, the situation in Sudan, Libya, Lebanon, Syria, and Iraq. Meanwhile, President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, accompanied by Saudi Crown Prince, held an inspection tour at the Egyptian pavilion in the International Defense Museum, which exhibited the latest technology in the field.
Be the first to know. The news live at the site of the event. Information on events as they are happening. If it's breaking news, it's Nile TV.
وانت ماشي في الطريق أو قاعد مع صديق، وانت برا مصر أو جوا مصر، وانت في الشغل أو في المكتب، جوا البيت أو برا البيت، ماسبيرو دوت اي جي معاك في كل مكان. بوابة ماسبيرو، إعلام مصر بين إيديك.
Welcome to Egypt, the most fascinating place on earth. Land of the pharaohs, muse of the world. Travel back to ancient times. Hear the voices from the past. Marvel as you wander through what is widely considered the greatest outdoor museum anywhere on the planet. Meet the city of Cairo. With its unique fusion of different cultures, enjoy the all-year-round sun on one of the countless beaches. Lose yourself among the souks and markets to taste the flavor of Egyptian life. Explore the ancient tombs. Share the secrets from the past. Hold your breath as you stand before what is considered the greatest spectacle in the whole world. Live the Egyptian nightlife. Sail on a boat on the Nile. Or dive into an amazing world of color and beauty. From east to west, from north to south, visitors will find a unique place that will provide some of the richest experiences of their whole lives. Come and discover the land that has captivated the soul of the people throughout ages. An amazing trip you won't easily forget. Get inspired by the news of the world. Start your personal journey where it all begins.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. And of course, today we focused on Egyptian-Arab ties and also furthering our Egyptian-African relations. Very important push by the presidency and the administration of Egypt to renew its commitment to partnerships and strong relationships between Egypt and many Arab and African countries over the last few years. Also, Egypt has worked to further their ties on multifaceted and multidimensional levels, whether at political or economic, cultural, as well as tourism, and even social exchanges between Egypt as well as African nations. The Arab world, which of course is partially African, expresses, of course, its need and desire to further integrate and collaborate and coordinate towards working to a prosperous future for Arab nations as well as the African continent as a whole. And we've seen partnerships which Egypt has developed between Arab and African countries, institutional partnerships over the last few years, which have really taken concrete steps to create a connected space between Egypt and the different countries, and this as the countries work together to confront many challenges, whether with regards to stability and security, whether with regards to regional crises, or even in the last couple of years with the issue of the coronavirus and the pandemic. We've seen Arab-African summits being convened with the aim of confirming the depth of relations between Africa and the Arab world as well as Egypt, and this, of course, all through endeavors to build joint policies in which Arab and Egyptian resources are used in what serves, of course, the interests of citizens of all these nations. In the same context, Egypt has reaffirmed its adherence to joint Arab action alongside its commitment to exert the efforts to reach the goals set by the Arab nations. Of course, this includes preserving interests and supporting Arab-Egyptian agendas to the benefits of the countries of the peoples. Also, Egypt has called on the international community to further collaborate and continue its support to different African nations, and it has applauded the tireless efforts to support the economies of many different countries. And this just is a quick wrap-up of the efforts that Egypt has exerted in both furthering its Arab as well as African ties between all the continent's countries. And of course, Egypt will continue to do so with the leadership of President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, as we have seen over the last couple of years, the many visits and exchanges to and fro between Egypt and these countries. And I'm afraid that's all the time we have for today. We wrap up today's edition of Arab Affairs. We do hope you have enjoyed it. My name is Angie Meher. Thank you for watching.
ذكرياتك ضحكتك حبك لأمك الجيران الطيبين مدارسنا واحنا صغيرين هو ده اللي اسمه الوطن لما يضمك هي دي مصر اللي بحياتنا نفتديها مصر اللي من غيرها لا نسوى ولا لينا لازمة إلا بيها هي دي مصر اللي بحياتنا نفتديها مصر اللي من غيرها لا نسوى ولا لينا لازمة إلا بيها من كل لون أو دين يا مصر شعبنا مسلم مسيحي قلب واحد كلنا احنا اللي وحدنا الإله حبك ده مفتاح الحياة اسمك وبس نبض روحنا وعشقنا هي دي مصر اللي بحياتنا نفتديها مصر